Welcome to the Mexpreneurs Podcast, the podcast about the stories of Mexican tech startup founders who are building world-class, fast-growing companies and having a positive impact at a large scale. My name is Sergio Chavez. I'm a Mexican based in Germany, a tech startup founder, executive, and mentor, and your host. Today we have Erika Giorgana with us. Erika is founder and CEO of Pitribe, an HR tech startup based in London, UK. Pitribe is an agile HR management system for corporations to streamline their core human resources processes and to build an agile culture. Pitribe is used by over 20 large corporations across Europe and the Americas, including Fortune 100 companies. Erika is originally from Mexico City. She is married and is a proud mom of 3 children. Erika had a 14-year tenure at Unilever, a multinational corporation behind leading consumer brands such as Dove, Knorr, and Ben & Jerry's. At Unilever, she held multiple HR-related roles across Mexico, Latin America, and Europe. This led her to understand the importance for large corporations to evolve into agile and people-centric organizations and to start her entrepreneurial journey. I hope you enjoy. Support for this episode comes from Partnership Leaders, the leading community of partnership professionals and executives in SaaS and tech with over 1,500 members globally. We're living the decade of the ecosystem, and every CEO needs to become a partnership leader. Just take a look at the top companies in the world today like Microsoft, Google, and Apple. They have all become platform companies, and partnership executives in IT have been the ones leading these transformations. Partnership Leaders brings these executives together and is building a playbook to enable CEOs and business leaders across industries to transform their organizations into platform companies. If you're a tech startup founder, Partnership Leaders is the place for you to learn how to leverage partnerships to take your business to the next level. I'm a member of PL and co-host of the Germany chapter and have seen firsthand the richness and value of this incredible community. Visit partnershipleaders.com to learn more and to apply to become a member. Make sure to mention in your application that Mexpreneurs referred you so you can receive a special price if your application is accepted. Hello, Erika. Welcome to the show.
Hello. How are you, Sergio? Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you for being here, Erika. So please tell us, who is Erika Giorgana?
Well, first of all, I am a mother of 3 amazing kids, Isabela, Fernando, Nicolas, and a lucky wife of a smart, handsome husband. I am a passionate, high energy, hard worker, idealistic, and I believe somehow disruptive entrepreneur. That's who I am. I believe my experience at the corporate world, because I used to work in the corporate world for a long time, made me aware of the urgent need that organizations have to change and to reinvent themselves. So I believe this triggered also in me the big desire to help people and to support organizations to become purposeful, high-impact human systems. I am a firm believer that organizations need urgently to become more agile, more digital, and most importantly, more human. That's my motto. That's my motivation. So who I am CEO and founder of Humand and Pitribe. Humand is a London-based consulting firm specialized in large-scale business transformation. And Pitribe is an Agile HR Management System. What we do is we support organizations in this exciting journey to become more agile, more digital, and as I said, especially more human. That's a summary of who I am.
So many different facets, Erika, that you have. But I love the fact that you actually started with the family. I think it hasn't happened to me with a lot of the founders that actually start with the personal side, which I think it's also equally important.
Or most important. For me, it's the most important, no? Your family, your kids, your husband. That's the reason, no, of living. And then comes the job. But yes, very important.
So when you were introducing yourself, you mentioned something about organizations becoming purposeful, high-impact human systems. Can you double-click on that? So what exactly do you mean by that?
It is incredible to believe, Sergio, but organizations today have the same operating model of 100 years ago. What do I mean by this? No, if you take a look at the organizational chart, for example, of General Motors of 1920, and you compare it with the organizational chart of any organization today, you will see that there are no differences. It's almost the same. Imagine that if you compare the world that we're living today from 100 years ago, we're speaking of Taylor, Ford, massive production, workplace full of men, where there were the white collars and the blue collars and the white collars making all the decisions, blah, 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 blah. And you compare it with what we're living today, you cannot believe that how organizations have the same operating model. And saying that, it is not surprising that we see that only, I think that the last surveys, for example, of Gartner said only 30% of employees in the world feel highly engaged with their company and with the work they do. It's impressive. And of course, because I believe it's just a symptom on how really organizations need to change. The way organizations are built is not working anymore. Organizations' main mission, and this is something that needs to change urgently, has been to make profit. Only profit. And they leave apart all this, well, the main reason why we all are here in this world, that it's making something for the community, doing something for the world, for the environment, for the community. So what we do at Humand is exactly that. It's not just consulting. It's not just implementing a tool. What we try to do really is to mobilize organizations into purposeful, really becoming human systems. And what I believe is if you combine this, organizations that see more into doing good instead of just profit, and if you combine organizations that really look for people and try to have impact through people, then the profit comes, then the impact comes. So that's what makes me get out of bed every morning and say, yes, this is worth it. And that's the Humand purpose.
And it seems just from the way that you're explaining it, that what you're doing with Humand, what you're doing with Pitribe is close to your heart. And I would say probably also your own personal North Star. Is that indeed the case? Or how would you define your personal North Star as Erika?
I think it's related, but it's not the same. My personal purpose, I've been trying to discover my purpose and define it in a short statement, because I believe it's important to have a short statement that reminds you every day, this is who I am, this is what I'm trying to do. So my personal purpose is to be light so others can shine. And let me explain you a little bit about this. So I believe that this natural high energy that I was speaking about and this passion that characterizes my personality can be used to inspire other people and also to help people to be the best version of themselves. So that is the reason why I founded Humand, because as I said before, it's not just about doing consulting. It's not just about selling a tool. It's about really mobilizing organizations to be more human and to help people become the best version of themselves. So that's my purpose, my vision, my why.
And how did that happen? So please walk us through your journey. So born in Mexico, but you've been abroad, you've had great corporate experience, but how did you ultimately land there with this purpose, with this mission? What were those major milestones across your career?
So I used to work for Unilever for 14, almost 15 years. Unilever is one of the largest multinational consumer goods companies globally. For those that don't know Unilever, they have very well-known brands such as Dove, Knorr, Dunn, Ben & Jerry's.
I think almost everyone has used a Unilever product at some point.
Exactly. Unilever is a great, great company. And I used to occupy different roles in Unilever in the HR department. Of course, I worked for Mexico. I'm a proud Mexican. But also I worked for different countries in Latin America. I worked for Brazil. I lived some years in Brazil, in Sao Paulo. I used to work also for the Southern Cone, so Argentina, Uruguay, Chile, etc. And my last role was here in London, where I used to occupy a global position as a talent and performance lead or head. That's the baseline of my professional career. And 5-6 years ago, living in London, I founded Humand. And why I founded Humand, as I told you before, is, and I can tell you a little bit more about this, but is really this dream of going outside and doing something bigger and leaving a legacy in this world. having this opportunity to take my own decisions, to build my own path and define my journey of life on my own. That's basically a summary of my career.
And about Unilever, so you've been 14 years there. So that's a long trajectory. So, and of course, you could have probably stayed there for many more years. So why at the end of the day, what were the options that you had? Like, I would assume that you had multiple options at some point, like continue with Unilever, continue pursuing greater, bigger roles. So how was that decision-making process for you to ultimately ended up deciding to build your own business?
I believe being an entrepreneur offers great advantages, no? But also disadvantages. Of course, you may know it involves risks, it involves uncertainties, high level of responsibility. But also, I believe those disadvantages somehow get minimized, let's say, if you have a big, hairy, audacious purpose and vision. So for me, the most amazing thing about becoming an entrepreneur has to do with having the opportunity, as I was telling you, to innovate, to have the freedom to make your own decisions, to set the course of where you want to go. But most importantly, as I was saying, it has to do with this opportunity to follow your dream, no? And to leave a lasting legacy, to do something with your life, to do something for humanity. So in the corporate world, I believe you're kind of limited. You're kind of limited by rules, by other people. No, it hasn't been easy. No, there's like this trend. No, that the new generations believe, wow, being an entrepreneur is so cool. It's cool, but it's also hard. You need to be willing to support high stress, high levels of responsibility. It's not easy, but as I said, if you have this dream, if you have this purpose, if you believe in yourself, and if you believe in your product, very important, that there's no better product than yours, then I believe you're an entrepreneur and it's a good path.
And how did that idea come to life? Because it's, of course, that was many years in the making. So what were those experiences, let's say, at Unilever that you had that started like triggering that, like, oh, there's something to be done here?
Well, Unilever is a great, great company. And Unilever has always been ahead of the curve in many things. So Unilever started their organizational transformation, becoming more agile, more digital 10, 15 years ago, no? Even before it was even like in the books, no, everyone didn't even refer to agile. So they started working on how to become a simpler, a faster, more digital, more agile organization. But what I saw is that all this transformation, and this is something that happens in many companies, is all this transformation is process driven, even digital driven. And I'm a digital and tech lover, but we need to understand that technology is an enabler. It's not the driver. So what I see, or what I saw and still see in organizations, is that they are transforming with these drivers instead of putting people at the heart of the transformation. And organizational transformation has everything to do with people. Now, if you change organizational structures, it's how people work, how people are organized. If you change to agile ways of working, it's how people are doing their work. Even if you are changing or transforming into a digital company, who are the people that create the technology or that use the technology? Is people. So in being on the side of the HR department, what I saw was after 10 years, no, the question started saying, okay, now that we created this company that looks very different to what it was 10 or 15 years ago, now that we don't have hierarchies, now that we are working in multifunctional teams and people flow from one project to the other, now that it's so agile and so digital, we have all these problems to solve on how are we going to give clarity to people on their careers? How are we going to pay people now that we don't have these hierarchical work levels? I said, come on, no, we should have thought about this 10, 15 years ago and go with the journey. So that's what inspired me to found Humand. And when I started, what I found was that my idea or the idea was a real need in companies, even companies that started the transformation 5 years ago or something like that. They were looking for a consultant to help them fix what they haven't done before on, okay, help us build an ecosystem of people processes that can help us become agile, simpler, and do something for people. I founded Humand, and it's very interesting because 3 months after I founded Humand, I started to realize that all the model and the ecosystem that we're trying to build inside companies so that people could move from one project to the other freely and to have multiple options of careers and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. There was no technology to be able to do that in companies. So when I asked companies, okay, so show me your agile teams, who are working with who are the product owners, who is the scrum master? They said, well, I have this Excel sheet, no, I have this PDF, because the current systems that we have were the HR management systems that we have were built for traditional company, no, for the operating model that we had for 100 years. So I started to see this opportunity and I said, you know what? I'm going to start building, let's build something small. You know, the tech world, no? Let's build a prototype and let's build an MVP.
An MVP.
Exactly. And one thing led to the other. And currently we have an agile HR management system that is being used by big companies, no, around the world to discover people's skills, to make skill role architecture, to manage agile performance development of people. So amazing things. Companies, no, that you probably know. So for me, it has been like a double jackpot, a win-win. We can offer consulting and at the same time we can offer the enabler to make the model come to life, because it's hard to explain, Erika, but are you CEO of Humand or are you CEO of Pitribe? And well, I'm CEO of both, no, but it's like they are linked together.
So this need that you mentioned, that there were many organizations that have these need. So I assume when you were at Unilever, you only saw what happened in Unilever, but it was until those 3 months that you mentioned when you really realized like, oh, this is actually a problem that many big organizations have. Or did you have that realization while being at Unilever?
Yeah, I started to suspect no, that it was something that not only Unilever had as an issue. And of course, as everything in the entrepreneurship world, you need to try and you need to see what happens. But as soon as I founded Humand, I said, I think this is a problem that big companies have. The Unilevers, the banks, no, the pharmacy industry companies. Many people told me, why don't you start by doing consulting with small firms? It's easier. And I said, you know what? No, because the big elephants that need to become leopards, no, more agile, are the big companies. So I started knocking doors, and what I realized is that what I suspected had been proven. I say it's not a fortunate event. I think, of course, thanks to God, but for, I know, the experience told me that what I thought it was true. And now, after many years, what I realize is that also the leopards, the small companies, the startups, they want to grow, but they want to grow in a way that instead of becoming an elephant, they want to grow their companies by looking more like a leopard, not being able to have an operating model that can help them become faster, simpler, closer to the consumer. So now Humand has expanded, and it's not only the big companies, but also big in terms of power, potential startups are also part of our clients.
And what you mentioned, I think is incredible, because I'm even thinking like what it's being taught that MBAs nowadays, it's still the old model, no? Like building a company in the old fashioned way. No? And really when you see new startups that are emerging, they're following an entirely different playbook. So I would assume that instead of you building an old model and then fixing it and modernizing it, you should actually start with this new way of doing things.
Yeah, many companies and many CEOs and founders, when I speak to them, they believe that these operating models of Spotify or Google or Netflix, no, where you see all these agile teams working together in tribes and people flowing from one project to another, that it's just for tech companies, no, or for these crazy people in these kind of companies. And it's not. The model that has the Spotify model and the model that many of these tech companies have can be replicated in companies that are not building technological or digital products, that have completely different backgrounds and sizes and industries. And that's what we try to do. We try to help the big elephants become leopards, but also these tiny I don't want to say tiny because I believe startups are big in terms of potential, no? But they can start growing without falling into static, heavy structures even with old leadership styles. The old leadership style that still remains in many companies is this directive controlling style, where we need to move towards collaboration, towards empowerment. That is a completely different era, and it's what really people are asking desperately to have.
So now let's switch gears briefly in terms of your international journey, because you're based in the UK, you've lived in Brazil, but how exactly did you end up in UK, or why stay in the UK?
So I came to the UK because of Unilever, and my husband also works in international companies. He's a banker. So we had the opportunity of moving abroad. Both, it's amazing, no, that you can match both careers and both opportunities. So we came here and we decided to stay. Even many people in Mexico and our family ask us every day, why? Why going abroad? Why are you living is so far away when you have all these things in Mexico? And it's a good question because, of course, every day you miss your family. Every day you miss the food, the weather. You can understand that if you live in London. But I also believe that living abroad opens up a world of opportunities. It definitely opens up or broadens your perspectives. It enhances your adaptability, definitely. It makes you embrace the differences, especially being in London, that is a very cosmopolitan city. And also, I believe it fosters a deeper understanding of different cultures. And that, I believe, it's crucial, no, for humanity, but also it makes you learn, no? It makes you broaden your perspective. And from the business perspective, that's also very important. I believe working abroad also opens up a world of opportunity because it expands your network. It helps you reach bigger markets, broader markets. So even though you miss a lot of things, I believe, and these are the words from my co-founder, and I'm going to steal them, life is all about choices. I believe it's a choice. We want to open up a world of opportunities for ourselves, for our children, and for our businesses.
And of course, we'll dive in the next interview about how you met your co-founder, but we'll keep that for the next interview. But now you're based in the UK, but how are you still connected to Mexico? Like, how are you connecting Humand, Pitribe with Mexico? Are you doing some projects there? How is that relationship back to Mexico still?
Of course, because I'm Mexican, most of my network is still in Mexico and in Latin America. A big part of our clients are in Mexico and in Latin America. So I have a team of 10 consultants in different parts of Latin America, but mainly in Mexico, working as part of Humand. So I believe the connection is an everyday connection because we have a daily stand-up meeting where we work together and what we are building, because I have spoken a lot about myself, but really Humand, it's not Erika. I'm just the face, but behind Humand, I have a great team of consultants with a corporate and professional background of different industries, different functions. Some people believe that we are just HR professionals, and not. I think I'm the only one with or two. No, we have with an HR background, and also I have. Well, the question was about Mexico, no, but I was going to tell you that I have all the digital and team from Pitribe. It's all around the world. No, but because I have most of my clients there, also I travel a lot to Mexico. I travel a lot to different parts of Latin America. And I love working for the Latin American market. It's a big market, but also I love to have both feet. No? So I work with many clients there, but also with clients in Europe, also with clients in the US. And I believe that's also something that has made Humand grow so fast, no? Because we can also share our insights, not only from companies from one market, but from multiple markets. But yes, I'm connected and my heart is and always will be in Mexico, of course.
So you ultimately build the ideal setup, having the best of both worlds at hand.
Yes, the only thing is that I don't cook. So I really miss the Mexican cook and I don't have the best of the world because the English food is not very good.
That's a good point. That's a good point. Anyways, Erika, I would love to just to finalize to hear your best advice for others that would like to build a startup, to go into entrepreneurship, think about other Mexicans or international professionals like you. Like, what would be your major advice to follow?
Well, I would say don't fall into the trap of thinking that becoming an entrepreneur and building your startup is becoming a millionaire fast easy. It's not about that. Not at all. It requires a lot of work. It requires a lot of resilience. It requires expertise, I believe. I think what I've learned in the corporate world also helped me with building the company. So don't fall into that trap. But if you have, and I will repeat that until I die, if you have this vision and dream and you're 100% sure that what you have in your head can really make a difference, solve any kind of problem, no? But if what you have in mind will make this world better, I think it is worth it. Because if you have that, then the rest will become insignificant. Also prove your idea, because there are many dreamers outside. So don't jump into the entrepreneurship world without making at least some tests. And let me tell you something. Every day, not every day, but once in a while, there are moments in your career, no, as an entrepreneur that you say, yes, once again, I have proven that this is going to be big. Yes, with this conversation, I close my computer and I say, I know it. I know it. They loved it because this is something big. So if you have that and you have tiny indicators that you're going to the right path, do it. Become an entrepreneur and follow your dreams and do the hard work. It's worth it.
Incredible way of finishing up. Erika, thank you very much for your time and for being here, and looking forward to our next conversation.
Thank you, Sergio. Thank you for inviting me and everything. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And thanks to you for joining us today. Please remember to subscribe via your favorite podcast app to be notified about new episodes and share with us your feedback. We would love to hear from you. Thank you also to the Maxpreneurs team, Valeria Morel, Héctor Barragán from Hyper Voltage, Francisco Jaimes, Pamela Elizalde, Katia Cruz, Rocío Marroquín. I am Sergio Chavez. See you next time.